Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, we are live now. Please welcome everybody for our fourth day of Krishi Go-raksha Vanijyam, our first online cow and farm conference for India. So today we have a special program. First, we are going to have Madhav Prabhu from Belgaum, and he is running a very big farm there, right, hands-on for a very long time. He is a very long-time devotee. He's also studied botany and philosophy, and he was before at Tattvadarshan's farm. He was in Mangalore. He done a lot of things over the years. I'm not sure. It looks like he's having some internet problem. In case that is happening, afterwards we have myself and then Sujal from Mayapur, who's running the Goshala in Sri Mayapur Dam. He has also some internet problems, so he recorded the whole thing which he wanted to say, and he will speak that. So, and then also we have Vishnunam Prabhu. He is also co-director of the cow ministry in India, and he's running the farm in Ahmedabad. He is also a long time around. So let me try if I can introduce Madhava Prabhu, if he's right there on internet. In case that is not working out, then I will first run Sujal's video. So no, it seems Madhava is not doing so well with this internet. Then I will add this video here, and then I will see if I can play that.
Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha principle
Hare Krishna. So it seems that the sound is not working, and the software is also not very uh, knowledgeable. I don't know the sound software is this new, and I've made the administrator. I was just supposed to play the file. So I will speak my 20 minutes, and Madhav Prabhu is still not come on, and then still I have Vishnu Nam Prabhu as a backup. So my name is Sanatana. I'm introduced to Go-raksha Vanijyam of Cow Conference for the last 3 days. And I'm running the Goshala in Vrindavan for the last 15 years and also a part of the temple administration. And some 7 years ago, Panchagora Prabhu, who is the president here in Vrindavan, had asked me to start a farm. The Gurukul, most of you must be knowing, the devotees, we have Srila Prabhupada's established Gurukul here in the building on the temple compound, and they were looking for a bigger place to build a bigger facility with more green and land around. They purchased the land that was about that time 100 acres. It had got a little bit expanded and it came in 2 parts. So I got one part of 40 acres over there. The problem was that land is low laying, it had a little bit of a swamp on it, and also the water at the property was salty. So I had been doing farming before in Pandharpur in Maharashtra, and there I had seen farmers were doing lift irrigation from the Chandrabhaga, from the Bhima River, and they were taking the water 2 kilometer, 4 kilometer, 8 kilometer away. So when the property was shown to me, I was remembering that. So I purchased a small property, maybe 1 gunta, 2 kilometers from our property where sweet water was available. And with Krishna's mercy, we managed to do an underground pipeline all the way from that property to our property, going to many farmers' fields and orchards and things. Somehow or others, they were all favorable, being Brajabasis, and we said that the grass will be for the cows and so. So we started because the property was low laying. I had to first make a compound and raise 5 acres of the land I raised. And so the main point here is that before I was running the Goshala only, and it was very difficult. We were building up mountains and mountains of cow dung, and nobody was ready to take that away. Only once a year, just before they were doing the main harvest in springtime for the rice field, and sometimes also in winter, just before people would plant the weeds. Some people would come with tractor trolleys and take the cow dung away. But it was very difficult and we were not really knowing what to do of that. And as we heard yesterday and many times, that at the end, when the cow came into existence, Lakshmi came late and all the demigods were already placed on her body. So she took up her position in the cow dung, in the gobar. And so there we're having Lakshmi piling up and it created a great burden for us. And on the other hand, even we're having some go downs where Bosa is kept. So if there is some problem and for a couple of days or even most probably I could pull on for 2 weeks without grass, for 2 months without grass, just feeding Bosa and choker. It is a great problem that we're always depending on the auctioning of the grass in Mathura. So when Panchagora gave me the objective of the farm, we started there. There were 2 devotees, Govinda and particularly Rupa Goswami, who was on the Padiyatra. He was a Padiyatra leader before also. And we started the project with great difficulties. Over the years, with very great success, we have converted the salty land into farmable land, and the swampy land into farmable land. So actually, what is really actually would be the process that first we would have a farm, and after the farm is over, ready, and we have excess of cow food and all those things, then we would start and bring the cows. But the problem in most of our ISKCON centers for a very long time, we have established the Goshalas, and we don't have a farm. So the farm is bringing a lot of good things. The cow dung is now 100% used up. Instead of being a burden on us, we're actually looking forward when the trailer is full, we drive it to the farm. Sometimes we compost it, or we directly fill up a whole field, and we put water in the field. We first plow it under, put water in the field, and then the cow dung transfers into compost. And even the land was salty before. After doing this procedure 2-3 times, afterwards the land is very farmable. We also have some like Jivamrita, Ganjivamrita, and we have waste decomposers. So we have different cultures, and one of those cultures is meant to remove the salt from the field, bacteria which are eating it up and transferring it into calcium and something else. So the main thing is that being Vrindavan, we have a big temple. Now we have almost enough wheat to feed all the brahmacharis and the temple devotees for almost 6 months of the year. As we are reclaiming more and more land, eventually we'll be able to, throughout the year, have wheat for the whole temple. We grow sugar cane, so we created organic gur, which has been used in the deity kitchen and as well in the devotee kitchen. We have dal, we have rice. So many things are coming from the farm. There's a constant stream all winter long of vegetables going to the devotee kitchen and to the deity kitchen. But the main thing is that that the cows have a backup. In case something is happening, we can always bring the cows over to the farm, and we have a lot of grass, and we have 200-acre grazing ground right next to our farm. Government land is there, forest land is there, which can be used in a case of emergency. So it is absolutely essential when we want to go ahead and want to think about Varnashram Dharma or in any of those terms, that we have the cows on the farm, and we have devotees who take care of them. This idea of only having a Goshala, which costs a huge amount of money, that grass we're auctioning, we're spending here in Vrindavan, we have about 300 plus animals, and we are easily spending 6, 7, sometimes 8 lakh rupees a month just on green fodder, according to the season. So it is a huge amount of expense, and as the farm is growing, we will earlier or later be able to sustain ourselves. At least 50% will come to the farm, and we will have a saving of 4 lakh rupees, 3-4 lakh rupees every month. And eventually we want to, part of the Gurukul land is also not cultivated. We will slowly start cultivating that, and eventually we're hoping we become self-sufficient with the grass from our farm for our Goshala. So it is a very satisfying feeling, because there's always anxiety. There was one time one very bad rainstorm came, and for many days the grass was not coming. So and it was at the end of the year after Kartik, and our Busa Godam wasn't that much full. And then what we're going to do? Where the food will be coming from? If there's any diesel shortage and the tractors stop working, then where the food for the cows will be coming from? So it is absolutely essential. So, and plus the combined thing that we're having the cow dung from the Goshala directly being used in the farm. It directly can fertilize and improve the condition of the land. So it is a wrong thing to just think, hey, what Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj said yesterday. I'm giving the same example. When I say car, somebody will say petrol, If I say cow, then the automated response is, oh, milk. Whereas the cow is like a deity. When I say Shaligram Shila, you will say worship. You will not say cracking coconuts or something else. So the same thing when somebody says cow, what would come in mind is, oh, worship. No? It is not that we're using the cow as a machine to provide milk, and even, sorry to say, many of the Goshalas are selling milk, and actually the price for milk from protected cows is at least 150, most probably more, close to 200 rupees. So nobody will sell the milk for 200 rupees, and then later on there will be a problem with the bulls. So in Vrindavan, our share is almost 50-50. We have almost as many bulls as we have cows. I'm here for the last 15 years. We have never given an animal away. And now slowly we're starting using at least some sets of the bullocks also in the farm for plowing. It has its own difficulties to find people who properly do that. It is very much slower, but on the long run, it is a sustainable program. If the diesel stops or any problem stops at any given point, we can use the bulls for pulling things from the farm back to the temple, and from the temple back to the farm, as well as grass or cow dung can be shifted forward and backward. And we have the bulls for plowing the fields. It has a certain difficulty to find devotees who want to live on the farm. That is a little bit complicated, because most of the ISKCON devotees are used to another type of living. So in that regard, we would have to wait. Eventually, and we can see it is coming already, the life in the city is going to become more and more complicated and more uncomfortable. So eventually, by their own sweet will, people want to take refuge and shelter in the countryside, and then the devotees will automatically come down to the farm when the life on the city becomes unsustainable. We can see now many businesses are going down to the present crisis, and many people are without a job. In the farm, there's so many jobs, and even if you don't do much, everyone can come. It doesn't cost me anything to maintain a person on the farm. All the ingredients are coming off the land. So if 1, 2, 5, 10, 15, 20 people eat more, it's absolutely not much of a difference. So ultimately, Srila Prabhupada wanted to establish one ashram dharma, and that can only happen when we have farms. He made it very clear that when the devotees get married, he wanted them to live on the farm, and then on the farm they can be easily maintained, and the products from the farm was supposed to go to the temple. Actually, the original instruction was that every city temple is supposed to have a farm. If we would have followed that much earlier from the beginning, then I guess the lifestyle and the comfort of the deities would have been much higher, by getting ahimsa milk from our farm, by getting grains from our farm, organic vegetables from our farm. The devotees would be very much more healthy. And also in the process of bhakti, it is one thing I'm buying something in the market and then I'm offering it to Krishna. It is a whole other process when we start growing it right from the beginning. We put cow dung in the field and we're growing the things for Krishna, and then we're sending it for offering. So it is a very more complete program of Bhakti Yoga. So ultimately, we have to establish farms, and we have to establish more and more farms. I remember Bhakti Samrita Maharaj, before he started the farm in Belgaum, he asked all his Grihastha devotees to buy one acre or rent one acre land and train themselves for farming. So I've seen many devotees, you would have never thought that they would be able to farm. They all started farming. It was a very interesting thing to see. So, 1 second. So it is the future. It was the past. Everyone was farming, and it is the future that eventually we have to come back to simple living and high thinking, and that will be only possible together with a farm project. So I will stop there. If there's later any question, we can address that. I'm having Madhav Prabhu on the line now. I will add him now. Hare Krishna Prabhu, you can hear me? Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Prabhu. Very nice to see you after years.
Yes, after a very long time, right? Last time, I guess we met in the farm when I came there. I'm not sure if we maybe somewhere met afterwards. That is the last meet. I remember that must be almost 15 years back.
Yes,
something like that. So Madhav Prabhu is well educated and he's really hands-on. He's sitting in the farm, a fully organic farm, I think more or less without current and without a modern life. Very simple setup under the guiding of His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj, who also spoke yesterday. So I will give the floor to Madhav. Hare Krishna. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for taking me on this project and this program. Today I will be speaking about a transition from the Goshala to the farm community, which is the main topic today. I hope you can see me. Is it okay for you? And can you see the slides that I'm showing? Yeah. So we have to, while dealing with farms and cows, we have to now think about changing the paradigm in which things are. How do you go to next? Okay. First and foremost, we are sitting today in a seminar with all the gadgets, and it's an online seminar, which probably even beginning of end of last year we would never have thought of having such seminars, but looks like this is the trend, and this is because of, as Sanatana was saying, the pandemic that has driven lakhs of people back to villages of India. But be rest assured, they will all be back in the cities as soon as possible, because villages are failing. And why are villages failing? The reason why villages are failing, I mean, this is a statement which we have just seen. This is in February 2020. In a rather, you would say, a very travel-oriented magazine, in which I found this, written by the editor of that magazine called Exotica. It says, if alarm bells have not rung, they must start ringing immediately. He's basically referring to the climate change predictions that is coming for the whole world, and especially for India. This is what the climate change predictions are for the country. They say that by 2050, more than half of the country will turn barren. And this will mostly affect central India in areas that are lush, green, and forested, as you can see. You said something there? Okay. And this is how it is going to affect the economy in the next few years. It says at least 7 states, and these are one of the most populated states of India, their GDP will go down by 9%. And you can understand what this 9% would be, because currently the COVID pandemic, the government of India has announced 10% of its GDP as a COVID relief, and for which they have, I think, they're giving something like 20,000 lakh crore rupees, which is the current 10%. So around that much amount of GDP will be affected if these populations, if these places are going to be drought prone. And this is going to do tremendous damage all around on every speck of the society. And this is going to drive people away from these areas. And the areas which would have water or have the facilities will be flooded. And this is going to result in more ethnic conflicts, because people in those areas where there will be water will be fighting against these people who will be coming to those areas. The governments will not be able to foresee the kind of difficulties that is going to be there. Women and children are going to be exploited, because the first kind of people that will be affected by these, when the men run away from the homes to get money and food and employment, the people that will be remaining unprotected or will have to face the brunt of all these problems are going to be the weakest section of the people, that especially women and children. So this is what is going to be expected in the next and 2050. That is not just very far away, just 30 years away, and you can see what the consequences are going to be. There's going to be a tremendous amount of crime as these places dry up. So this is the prognosis for the next 50, 30 years. And think about it, because this is the reason why this is happening. We have depended ourselves, we have made ourselves move on to a different kind of a way of living. We are used to doing farming with a lot of groundwater, which is depleting. 90% of India's groundwater is depleted. Therefore, a slight variation in the rainfall is causing droughts. And the soil is, we are losing tremendous amount of soil from every ton of produce that we are, every ton of food that we are producing. We are losing 10 to 15 tons of soil. And that is huge, because it is the topsoil that actually produces your food. And as you lose soil from the top of your land, you actually start going down to the subsoil, and subsoil does not produce food. It becomes very difficult to produce food, and therefore you need increasing inputs into your land. Agricultural production is going to become more and more difficult. People are going to find it more difficult to produce food if we lose soil at this rate. And mind you, we need about more than 20 tons of compost per acre to produce food organically, sustainably. Every year, we need that much amount of food. That can be brought down to at least a minimum of 5 kilos of compost or organic compost per square meter of land, agricultural land. And agriculture, now again, we have another problem, is that we have agriculture based on irrigation. And as soon as you start irrigation projects and agriculture based on irrigation projects, it is doomed the day it is started, because it leads to salination, it leads to water, water clogging in the ground and raising of salinity in the soils. There's a lot of demographic changes that take place, a lot of water quality changes that take place, a lot of and it is dependent on technology, and a lot of politics is involved in it. A lot of people have to be removed from, and it is not sustainable in the long run, because cement and cement-based farm dams have a certain life, and salination reduces that. And we have seen in some of the biggest dams that we have today, the water that was actually promised for the farmers is going for industries, and therefore people are fighting for water. There is competition for the water. We are seeing people dying in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu conflict because of water, of the Kaveri, and this is just going to increase as we see this happening, and with the rain being more and more playing the truant, means basically it's not coming on time, or sometimes it is coming, it's not coming. So as soon as we have irrigation projects based on that, then we start agriculture, which is highly water intensive. We grow things that we should never grow in those areas. and deprive those people who actually would need the water further downstream for their cultivation. We have changed the cultivation patterns. There are a lot of problems that are coming into as we start irrigation projects and develop land. And again, because it needs a lot of inputs for such land, and sometimes these lands are not suitable for too much of water because they're based on their dry land, basically, which needs dry land cultivation. Anyway, there are a lot of issues that are there. And it's another thing that is happening today is that the mineral content in the food, or the mineral density in the food density is going down. What would actually require the amount of, like they say, previously you say that an apple a day keeps the doctor away, because the amount of nutrients in the apple was sufficient to give you the full nutrition that you required. But today, they say that the apple has much less, or it says it has only 1/5 of the nutrients that it used to have before. So the nutrient density in the food is going down. Because why? Because as we see before, we are losing 10 to 15 tons of soil for every ton of food that we produce. So we are losing fertile soil, and we are losing fertility. We do not have sufficient compost. We are working on a synthetic compost. We are depleting groundwater, which is again depleting our ground reserves. It is depleting the forest. It is depleting the quality and the health of the forest, which should actually depend, and trees, which should actually depend on the groundwater to be actually living and thriving. So we have a lot of issues that are coming. And all this is coming together. I'll just coming back to this point again, that as we come back to 30 years down, all this is going to further increase. The conflicts will further increase. You will see more and more people fighting for water. You will see fighting for food, fighting for what do you call it? Employment. There won't be enough sufficient employment. People will be migrating in great amounts to different parts, in other parts of the world, where there is water and livelihood opportunities. The people the places where they go, they will fight back. So this is going to take place because, and as groundwater, water is going to be scarce even in the cities, and we're going to be fighting over water even in the cities. So as all this situation is going to develop, and over and above that, you're going to find that food is becoming less, it has got less nutrients and more fiber in the food. So it is becoming less and less nutritious. And then you will actually have, the next thing that will have is that the amount of food that you need to, the amount of variety of food that you need to eat. They say you need to eat about 32 different varieties of food per week to keep yourself healthy. Means you need that many amount of nutrients. You need zinc, you have a lot of trace elements, zinc, magnesium, copper, silicium, silica, and a whole lot of materials that you need to eat, keep your body alive. Now, those things going down is going to result in tremendous amount of diseases that's going to spread. And you can see today that the number one business in any city is hospitals. And with this, not only is going to be, it's not going to be only the people that are going to get sick, the plants are going to get sick. And as the plants get sick, we will get sick. And as the plants get sick, we will start giving more and more medicines into it, more pesticides, more fungicides, more herbicides to grow crops. And that is going to, again, further complicate the whole system in which we are growing. So the food is connected to our existence. It is connected to our memory, how we think, the ability to think on the path. The thinking ability is going to go down. People will not be able to think deep enough. What to speak about higher consciousness, where we need to actually think about, as it says here, vipramokshat, how to get liberated from this material world. So and people will not be able to fight back. India's current rate of anemic women in India is about 80% of the women of India are anemic. They have low iron in their. The government has been trying to give iron tablets to women for the last 40 years, and things have not changed. Whereas if you actually move these people to an organic and a good, healthy diet, they can recover in 1 year. So people with less food will get more disease. They will have less stamina to work. They won't have memory. They'll have very bad eyesight. They'll have very bad abilities to think. From a very young childhood, they'll get diseases. 54% of young children today are chronically ill. They have chronic diseases which is affecting them. So we are in a situation where we cannot think about a living even properly if we are going the way we are going. So food is substandard, and our existence becomes substandard, and memory to ability to think, eventually our society and spiritually we will also be substandard, because we won't have the ability to actually think deeply, spiritually to develop when you have substandard food, as the previous verse says this from the Chandogya Upanishad. Ahara shuddho sattva suddhi, sattva suddho dhruva smriti, smriti lambhe sarva granthinam vipramoksha. So now, why I'm telling you this is because this has to do with cows and how we see cows. As we see Sanatana Prabhu was saying, how much of a difference it made for him when he had the cows and the farming land together, whereas when he had vice versa, when he only had cows on the Goshala. So when he had cows and the Goshala, when he had same experience I had is when I was only working with Goshala, I was creating heaps of cow dung, and this was creating so much pests, mosquitoes, flies. We couldn't sit anywhere practically. We were always disturbed, especially in the day. And the day we moved out the cows to the land and never tied them, it kept them open, it kept grazing them all the time as far as possible, and stopped piling up cow dung. We found we had no more mosquito problems, we had no fly problems, and the cows also didn't have many fly problems. And as we go down with our ability to see the whole ecosystem as something that is connected to one another, and that everything has to be connected to the other, because food is biology. We as life are biology, and our bodies work on biology and our spirit souls work on spirituality. And if our spirituality is at stake, our bodies are at stake, we are unable to actually exercise our memory, our intelligence, our activities, our physical work, then we become weak. And as we become weak, the biology has failed, spirituality has failed, and similarly, we also have failed to provide a proper leadership to the whole world. How to live, because we have the same problems as the other parts of the world have. So the leadership has also failed. We will not be able to provide leadership. We are not providing leadership to anyone as to how to live. We are in the same rut and struggling for the same things as others. In the last 70 years, about 40% of the arable land in the whole world has been abandoned because it's no longer able to produce food. And we are opening up newer land or intensifying the agriculture. Now, this has two main problems. As we open up newer land for agriculture, environment gets affected. As environment gets affected, wildlife gets affected, our water systems get affected. There is conflict because we need water from our catchment areas. We need fuel, we need firewood, we need wood, we need so many materials from those unused, the forest land or ecosystem lands or ecospheres that we have. So, and intensifying agriculture with more and more inputs, more and more agricultural implements leads further to more degradation of agricultural land. And as we know today, that most of the money from agricultural production is not going in for the farmers. It is going to purchase of agricultural inputs from outside. This is again further degenerating the villages because people finding it not favorable to stay in the villages to execute their work there. I will go to here, then I'll go back to the next slide. So basically, coming here is that we all love growth. Every one of us, we love growth. We celebrate when children are born. We celebrate when we're able to grow more food. We celebrate when you have a new house. When we celebrate when you have anything new. We all love growth. But we have to understand that growth cannot take place because we are in a finite world. And in a finite world, things have to be balanced. Growth, as I was explaining to you previously, that every acre of land, that means every 4,000 square meters of land, if you're growing agriculture or doing agriculture on it, you need at least 20 tons of compost to be sustainably working that land. Now, composting is a process of decaying of dead material. And 20 tons is a lot. Now, mind you, when you're removing grains, grass, straw, and different kinds of things that you're taking away from the land, what you're removing from the land is actually nutrients from the land. As you're removing nutrients from the land, adding to what we've already spoken, to 10 to 15 tons of soil being eroded from the land, your soil is dying. And as the soil is dying or degrading, if you're not able to further put in the inputs back again into the soil, you cannot have growth. We are thinking in a very limited way. We only look at the growth, but we cannot look at growth if the cycle of life is not completed. If the death and decay of every organic material is not put back into the soil, then whatever we have eaten or taken from the soil, we're making the soil, we're depleting the soil of its growth ingredients. Even in social terms, when we want to grow children, we want to grow a healthy society, we have to understand that the people who are old and who are in the process of dying, or who are in the process of leaving the world, have to be taken care of. They are not simply people whom it's a spent energy. They have a lot of wisdom, a lot of understanding, a lot of knowledge that they can share with the growing, the upcoming generation. If they don't share, the cycle of life is not followed in that manner, they are not taken care of, only we want to take care of the growth, then we are looking for a society of death. So in the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita, growth is mainly connected with the Rajaguna. Death and decay is connected with the mode of ignorance or tamas. Tamagun is the effect of death and decay. Mind you, none of them are bad, because that's the source, the way of life. So where is the Sattvagun, or the mode of goodness? The mode of goodness is the balancing of growth with death and decay. This is the balance. This is where the society actually works. And this is where also the cow's role is. Now, I will explain to you a little more. Growth means when rains come, when conditions are favorable, and soil has something that it is growing, and it is growing tremendous amount, it can actually grow a tremendous amount of green fodder, especially organic grass and other things like that. Now, if those things that grow are not given back to the soil again, then we need food every year. It is not that we just need it one time. We need to have it growing all the time. So if cows do not have a role, if the cows are not there to actually turn all the green back into the soil, and which they do within a few hours in their rumen, in their stomach, and give us so many other things in return for that, then we have to do it with our mechanical powers. So we have to use electricity, we have to use petrol, we have to use diesel, we have to have machines to do this. If the cows are not there to do it, then we will have to do it with our own mechanical powers. Now, when we have cows to do it, it is the biology that is doing the work for us, doing the cycle of growth, balancing the growth with death and decay. And the cow dung is available for within a few months, practically, or at least by a year. The uh, organic material that is there is again available for growth. Now, if this is not properly balanced, this is the mode of goodness, how to balance it. And this cannot be done by any other form of life. And as humans, when we are managing land, we need it very urgently. And it is very difficult for us to actually manage other forms of life. For example, wild animals are very difficult for us to manage because they are wild in the first place. Even animals like buffaloes can do the work, but buffaloes are not suited for dry and hot climate because they love water. That is why they call water buffaloes. And they don't actually perform so well. They'll get sick. And if you're trying to use some smaller animals like sheep, etc., they grow in tremendous amounts, and you need a large amount of them. Whereas the role of cows is very good because it's very easily handleable, and their weight is also the right amount, and they do not multiply in such large amounts that you cannot manage. So the cows have a wonderful role in this process of cycle of life, in which they balance the growth. They actually give impetus to growth by actually helping the process of death and decay of the growing materials. And not only that, cows have another role to play. Cows give a lot of things that they do when they actually have land, and especially the land on which we are growing, land which is around us, land which gives us forest, land which gives us water. They have a lot of things to do. By their hoof impact, as they move with their hard hooves, mind you, they are different from cats or wild cats and etc., because they have hooves. And these hooves, they can manage hard terrain, hot terrain. They can move in dry climates. And with that, they're able to break the crust of the soil, which has been formed for a very long period. When we do not have rainfall, the soil become encrusted. And as they graze the soil, I mean the plants, they are actually sending biosignals to the crops. As soon as they start working on these things, as soon as they start eating the tips of the grass, etc., it is giving a signal to the whole. What do you call it? The ecosystem around. The smell that is produced when the cow is eating the grass and the other fodder materials that it is doing, it is giving different signals to different plants, to different insects. And then when they move in big herds, they disturb the soil, they dung and urinate on the land. And
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I'm not sure what is happening.
Are you able to hear?
Prabhu's internet connection looks like has slowed down. So
is it slow?
Even he said we were not imagining the online conferences some time ago, but we are constantly depending. Okay, Madhava Prabhu is back. No, he is not back. It is slow. So I don't know what to do. He is making some very valuable points. We all have seen that picture of the people. A person sits on the branch of a tree and he's cutting the branch, the same branch which he's sitting on. And he's very eagerly engaged in cutting. And he's not much realizing that what will happen next when he's finally completed his job. Him and the branch will fall down. That won't do much to the branch, but he's most probably die or going to get injured. So we are taking out from Mother Earth we're taking out now for the last almost 100, more than 100 years. So we're taking out as fast as we can, as much as we can. The water is depleting, the soil is getting barren, deserts are increasing.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So I just continue here. Okay. So what we are having here is the role of cows. And they also are able to lay down what they do not eat as mulch. They cover the soil. And soil, which is land which we want to do agriculture on, which we sometimes do not use for months together, can be very easily revived, or even land which has been degraded, even mined, can be recovered if we fold. It means we keep the cows in a particular enclosed area, giving them complete protection, and keep cows in the night there. It is called an overnight folding of cows, overnight kraling of cows in African language. That also recovers our degraded land, which we're not able to use. So therefore, we need to see a more holistic approach that we need to take. A piecemeal approach will always give us inconsistent and sporadic results. If we only try to use a part of the cows, either the milk or the urine, but not the cow herself, the full cow and a full impact, we will only see sporadic results in sporadic areas. So a whole is greater than the sum total of its parts. Our future is connected. Our future is connected to our land, it is connected to our nutrition, it is connected to our families, the environment, the social structures, how we actually manage land, the values that we have, the traditions, the habits, the sanskaras, the economics, everything depends on how we deal with our land. And if our land is degrading, then our plants are degrading. And for all of this, we need the help of cows. Cows have a very important role to play. If cows are restricted only to Goshalas, only to small places where God has given them 4 legs and we've been given 2 legs, we are occupying most of the land and we are unable to do it. We have to use cars to do different things, whereas they are not able to do it. So this is the reductionistic approach that the world has. And basically, a reductionistic approach means that we view the world as a machine which is made up of different parts. And if we can just work on one part at a time, then everything, the whole machine will work properly. But that doesn't happen like that, because as we showed here, the whole is greater than the sum total of its parts. Just because some organs, every organ of the body is working properly, doesn't mean the man is working properly. The man is just not all his organs that he has. Similarly, society and the future that we have is much more. So the machine that we have today, or the attitude that we have today, is that of a reductionistic paradigm. In the real world, everything is connected. Matter, life, society, vitality, that is both biotic and abiotic structure. The soil, the living entities, their work as wholes, whose qualities cannot be understood by study or management of any aspect in isolation. In the same way, if we want to have cows, then we cannot have only in isolation, keep them in isolated housing colonies and spend a huge amount of money and manpower just to clean the cow dung every day. If they're allowed to go out grazing, even to develop our farmlands, we will save a lot of man hours. To clean up the roadsides, even the grass that grows after the rainy season, if you use machines and power. I remember, I think I calculated to cut grass, which is growing with machines, at the end of the rainy season in our farm, it would cost us at least 300 rupees per hour. That is what it costs us. Whereas when I'm doing that, when I leave the cows on the same land, I have only I'm spending nothing practically, and the cows are doing that work. So we are not realizing that the cows are being given to us to work this land and to survive on this land in a much better way. Without working on the cows, and the society has to also understand its values. The society also has to understand its values, what it is doing. Now, coming back, I'll just end this whole thing with this small thing, that there's 4 things that are important that makes this ecosystem work and where our cows work. First point here is that the balance of any ecosystem is based on 4 things. Any farm is based on 4 things. Farming is based on 4 things. When we're farming, basically our farm works on how much with our green leaf plants that we're growing, and with their leaves, what are we doing actually is harvesting the sun's energy, which is through photosynthesis is turning the minerals, etc., into food for us, food for everyone on this earth. And if you have an acre of land that is about 4,000 square meters of land, if that every inch is not utilized 5 plants to harvest solar energy, you are at a loss. So our main job that we're doing while we are farming is actually we're farming solar energy. And to farm solar energy, you need a whole diversity of crops, and not just diversity of plants. You also need diversity because we need it for our growth. We cannot eat only 3 or 4 items. As I mentioned, we need about 32 different varieties of food every week if we want to maintain good health and not see a doctor, if you don't want to get sick. So we need a wide variety of food, and that can only be possible if the soil is rich. And that brings us to the nutrient cycle. It has to be readily available. It's not that we cut it, take it, and store it for another 3-4 years and then bring it back. But if you need it fast, we only take 3 or 4% of the total crop, or 1/3 or 1/4 of the total thing that you produce. But there's much more: the straw, the roots, etc., which also need to be recycled in the soil. So we need to have an active nutrient cycle. And none of this can work if there is the hydrological cycle or the water cycle is not properly in place. And the cows help in each one of them. As the cows graze on the land, they take they graze the tips of the freshly growing leaves of different plants, the fodder that they're grazing on. As they take they take the best of energy, best of nutrients from it, and they move on. They don't stay. They just take mouthful and move on. And if they're allowed to do this, then the plant actually, it stimulates the plant. Their grazing actually stimulates the plant to produce more leaves, more growth centers from the bottom. It vigorously starts using up its energies to grow again. Then they disturb the soil and they break down the old matter that is there in the soil, so that the growing tips of the plants are again exposed to the sunlight, and the sunlight will again stimulate further growth of those plants. So that includes, and then that includes the energy flow into the soil. As the energy flow increases in the soil becomes richer. That gives rise to a diversity of flora and fauna that we need, a wide variety. Why we need, again, bigger flora and fauna? Because soil needs a lot of other microbes to actually convert all the dead and dying, decaying matter into nutrient form so that the growth can take place. So it needs a lot of microorganisms in the soil, and the cow with its cow dung and its urine and its walking and mulching the soil, again, gives fodder and food and shelter for different kinds of microbes, bacteria. In fact, in I think 1 spoon of rumen liquid in the gut of the cow has, I think, trillions of microflora in it, which again help to further decay and break down the food, the nutrients that is in the different plant materials and make it available for the nutrient cycle. And as they do that, they loosen up the soil. And as the cows walk and leave down a lot of litter on the soil and the cow dung and the cow urine, it increases the organic matter in the soil. And as the organic matter in the soil increases, it increases the water holding capacity of the soil. Without a hydrological cycle, without water, if 1% organic matter is there in the soil, then what happens is that you get at least 75,000 liters of water per acre stored in the soil with every 1% increase in and 1% organic matter in the soil. So all of these have to be balanced. Then only can we actually survive on this earth. And if we are not going to do this, then this place, the growth, the cycle of life will be stopped. And as people are losing the idea of how to balance death and decay with growth, they all want growth. They will only want to show profits. But how can profits come if there is no balanced form of death and decay? And the role of cows, what the cows can do on large tracts of land, we can never be able to do with machines and manpower. What we can do is actually only create deserts. Cows, as Srila Prabhupada says, even the cow, the dung and the urine of the animal is so important, so you can understand how important is the animal. If you just allow the cows to move properly and we manage it properly, mind you, cows can also degrade the land if they are not properly managed. Cows have to be properly managed, otherwise they can degrade your land by overgrazing, over-impacting. They can even create dead zones in certain areas. Too much of anything is bad. So therefore, there has to be a balance in how to do it, how to graze cows. So all this has to take place in a holistic manner. Societies have to understand the role of cows. We cannot go on by separating the land and ourselves and think that, or even separating the cows and the land, think that just by someone is going to take care of the cows and we're just going to take the milk. You cannot have sick cows and expect that you can get wholesome cow dung and cow urine or even cow's milk, for example. If the cows are suffering, you cannot have it, because if the cows are not sick, if they are not healthy, how can you be healthy? And how can cows be healthy if the plants are not healthy? What they're eating is not healthy, if the environment is not healthy. So nothing is in isolation. Everything has to work with one another. And as we work these things out with the cows, we will realize that it is land which is actually dying because of the lack of animals or lack of animal impact on the soil. We are using technology, we're using so many other things, but why is it that we have our lands are dying and decaying? Because it is the lack of animal impact on the soil. Animals are required. We are trying to manage things without animals. We cannot do it. What the animals can do, we can never do. No humans can do it. We've tried using fertilizers, synthetic pesticides. None of that is actually working. More than 500 species of pests have become they have become immune to pesticides. Similarly, so many of their pests and herbicides are no longer working on them. We are spending more than billions of dollars, $100 billion on pesticides and weed control. Are we going ahead in any way? No. So therefore, what we are lacking today in our system is to understand the holistic role of cows in the whole process. Coming back to this, now life is actually biology. Life on this earth is biology. You cannot make it technology. You cannot replace it with technology. The 4 ecosystem processes on which we survive, the sun's energy, which converts sun's energy and the nutrients together into food for us, is a biological cycle. And for that, we need a diversity of crops. And that diversity of crops and the diversity of crops that are there is required for our nutrition. We need a wide variety of crops to survive on this world. We need on all these different varieties of crops that are there will give us the nutrients that we need. So all this diversity is required for us. It's not that we can only eat potatoes, rice, and dal, or wheat, rice, and dal, or something like that, potatoes. We need the diversity of food, and that diversity is a biological cycle. And cows, by walking around, grazing on the soil, actually by their hoof impact, make sure the seeds that are fallen apart again gets embedded in the soil. The nutrient cycle is actively moving when the cows are moving. When we do not have cow dung, we do not have cows, we do not have the whole nutrient cycle in place, we are spending billions and billions of dollars trying to make artificial synthetic fertilizers for the nutrient cycle. And God knows how much we are spending. We know already how Cape Town was at the verge, actually it's almost at verge, the day zero, when there was no water. Water is the most important cycle that is missing out in our lives. We think in the cities, rains are terrible because it only fills up drains. But what actually rains do is actually give you grains. Annad bhavanti bhutani, parajanyad anna sambhava. Yagyat bhavati parajanyo, yagya karma samudbhavaha. Evam pravartitam chakram nanu vartayati hayah aghayur indriya ramo mogham parthasa jivati. So there is a cycle. Everything is a cycle. Therefore, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Evam pravartitam chakram. One doesn't understand this chakra. Mogham parthasa jivati. He is just living for nothing. If we are not in the cycle, if our life is not to complete the cycle of life, if we are not completing the cycle of life, we are not understanding how cycle of life works, then we are not even intelligent. As I mentioned here, we are not even intelligent enough to think what life is all about. We have changed. We have failed in our leadership to understand how this world is working. Spirituality is working. So this is what is happening with the whole flow. That cycle has to be understood properly. Evam pravartitam chakram. How the pravartitam chakram, how water has to be going into the soil to actually allow the plants to grow. Now the water is not going into the soil, it is running on the top of the soil, and immediately you have flash floods. And soon it is followed by droughts. How can you have floods and droughts in the same year? There is a problem. And the problem is that we do not have enough animals working on the land to make these cycles, these 4 cycles available, work. They actually move in great herds to actually create this cycle going on, the cycle of life. Without working on these systems, we are not going anywhere ahead in our system. And as a result of this, what we have forgotten, we have not understood the leadership that we have to provide to the world and how the world has to be done. The leadership has not understood all these things. We are busy cementing the whole world, as a result of which more than 40% of arable land is being abandoned every year. Arable land means land which can be cultivated, is being abandoned every year in the last 70 years. And as a result of that, we are going to newer areas. We are desertifying those areas further and moving on to further areas to desertify more and more. This is leading to conflicts. This is leading to people leaving the villages. This is the reason why, as I mentioned right at the beginning, lakhs of people have left their villages to go to the cities of India. Why? Because the villages are incapable of supporting life anymore. And why is this? Because this phenomenon, we have lost touch of how the cycle works. How food is to be produced, how every ton of food produced is actually degrading our soil. And it is not, we are not able to, if we do not have cows on the land, we have not enough sufficient cows, how will we get 20 tons of compost per acre? I know, because we in the farming, we find it so difficult to get 20 tons of compost per acre. One cow needs at least 6 to 7 to 9 tons of, depending on the weight of the cow, size of the cow, it needs 6 to 9 tons of fodder per year. Where are we going to give that? So this is a question of leadership. And this is where the leadership has failed, because they've failed to understand the cycles of life. When leadership does not understand the cycles of life, they do not understand that we are not surviving on electricity. We are surviving on the sun's energy. We are dependent on diversity of flora and fauna for the food, for the fiber, the wood, timber, everything that you need in this world. And that is dependent on the nutrient cycle. And that is dependent on the hydrological cycle. We spend huge amounts of, I've seen personally farms failing, farms which have been started even by devotees failing because they spend a huge amount of money building, housing, but spending hardly anything for water, to harvest water, to actually see that water is available. They are spending huge amounts of money. They have not understood simple requirements of water in an ecosystem. They have not understood simple things of nutrient cycle in a system. So the leadership is failing if they do not understand these four ecosystem processes. And anywhere these four systems are not in place, farms are supposed to fail. Villages are going to fail. Our ecosystems are going to fail. People are going to fail. Civilizations will fail. And we'll have conflicts. We'll have fighting. We'll have more and more women being sent out. Why are women going out of the homes to work and being abused in different areas? Because the ecosystem is failing. There's people have to go out of the villages to look for food. They're not sufficient. And as I said before, ahara shuddho, sattva suddhi. The existence, the memory, ability to think. Even the case of Srila Prabhupada used to mention that art means full belly. Why are people becoming so demoniac? Because they do not have enough food that will sustain, increase their finer existence of their brain. They are no longer human beings. They cannot understand subtle philosophy because they are actually lacking in livelihood aspects and also proper food. They have become like animals, even worse than animals. No animal rapes. It is only human beings who rape. And the reason for that is lack of spirituality. And spirituality is again connected to pure food. Ahara shuddho, pure food gives sattva suddhi, improves our existence, makes us very good in our existence. Very highly cultured people. Sattva suddho, sattva, body, existence becomes very pure. It increases memory. One understands what to do, and what not to do. And only when smriti lambhe can actually cut the knots of this material world and go back out of this material world. And that requires tremendous amount of spiritual knowledge, abilities. But if this is not there, we are simply struggling to basically produce bare amount of food or live at the basic level of starvation or existence at that level, the world is going to be very difficult to survive. So therefore, leadership has to understand these four principles. And in these four principles, we have to understand the process of life, how it has to be balanced. This is all a culture. And in that, we have to understand cows play a very important role, which is very nicely explained by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada in his purports. In the Bhagavatam purports, he has extensively explained the impact of cows on civilization. But for that, we need to understand that even to understand those facts, you need to have good food, excellent food, not food grown with pesticides and insecticides and synthetic fertilizers, but wonderful, healthy, normal food, which can only be possible if we have sufficient quantity of compost and good soil to grow this. So I will end this by saying that our earth will degrade, and so will our plants and animals, and our whole existence, our whole civilizations, our cities will eventually also degrade, and eventually the scholastic, the monastic, and the theistic, our religion, our intelligence, our knowledge systems, all of these things will fail if we fail to understand the whole earth as one, not just manage things, animals or the land in piecemeal manner. They all have to be connected well. And we also have to be connected well to that. Otherwise, we will not be able to survive. Our future is connected to this. I will end here for now. If the host and the devotees allow, and I will, others can continue. And thank you for giving
Hare
me this.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna.
Madhav. Thank you so much. You want to address some question at the side?
Yes.
Let's say this one here. Prabhuji, other than cows, other cattle are also adventures to. What happened? So down at the screen it will come.
Yes. Yes, buffaloes and sheep and goat are also useful, but you have to understand that buffaloes are generally wild. It is very difficult to actually tame them. They are not human friendly like cows. Cows are very tameable and very human friendly. Whereas buffaloes have a tendency to be wild. If you let them out, they will not sometimes, in a lot of cases, come back again to your land. You have to go and herd them back. Secondly, large parts of our country and the whole world, in fact, more than 2/3 of the world, are actually dry and arid. So buffaloes find it very difficult. They need more water. They are actually known as water buffaloes. So even though they have a good herbivorous attitude and ability, but they are not good for that purpose. They need water, and if you're not giving them water, the poor animals are going to suffer. And of course, Ayurveda also says that the buffaloes' milk and other things are not so good either. It's not good for things. Whereas cows have been glorified for their activities and for everything else. So that is one. Number two, sheep. Sheep are also good, but then again, to manage huge herds of sheep, I don't know if you've ever herded sheep and cows. If you've not herded cows and if you've not herded sheep, you will not know the difference between sheep and goat and herding of sheep, goat, and cows. Cows give you a lot of spare time. They don't move out so fast. You can herd them back, and you can manage them better. But if you have sheep and goat, you cannot get even a wink of rest. You cannot even take a one moment of rest. They will continuously keep you on your feet. And because they multiply in such large numbers, you have to constantly keep moving. And their weight, because their weight is also less, so therefore you need to actually have large numbers of them to have the right kind of impact on the soil, to break the crust of the soil and develop the soil for the next season. So they are also advantages, but they also have their disadvantages, and their human friendliness and their working is slightly difficult. So cows are the best. But the others also can be utilized.
All right. Thank you, Madhav Prabhu. And maybe if you're traveling back, I heard you're somewhere in the eastern part. Maybe take a small detour and visit us in Vrindavan Dham for a couple of days. Thank you, Madhav Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I will one more time try to run Sujal's video. I think my mistake was that I removed myself. Please, in the comment section, let me immediately know if there is sound or not. Okay, I will press share screen. And no, it is not coming. Some problem is there. So then we will switch over to Vishnu Nam Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Vishnu Nam Prabhu. He's part of our India Council, and he's also secretary for quite some functions. He's since long time in Ahmedabad, and there's also a big farm. So please go ahead and enlighten us. I'll remove myself.
Thank you very much. So we had an amazing presentation by His Grace Madhav Prabhu, and it seems that everything is going just upside down. Whatever we have done in terms of cow protection, we by having Goshalas has added more to our problems. So we need to take a more holistic approach and address this current problem. Otherwise, we'll be ending into a bigger mess. So I will try to share my screen. So we will take from Srimad Bhagavatam. In Bhagavatam, first canto, 17th chapter, text 3, Srila Prabhupada writes that although the cow is beneficial because one can draw religious principles from her, she was now rendered poor and calfless. Her legs were being beaten by her Shudra. There were tears in her eyes, and she was distressed and weak. She was hankering after some grass in the field. So again, we are also going to discuss, basically there are three main points addressed in this translation of Srimad Bhagavatam. First is the calf is separated from the mother, as was also discussed by His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Maharaj yesterday. Second is the cows are removed from the earth, which was covered by His Grace Madhav Prabhu today. And third is we need a person, or we need a herder, or we need a sensible person who knows how to do these two things. Otherwise, the whole cow protection program is not sustainable. Whatever we are trying to achieve for us, for the ecology, and for the species living in the ecology, it all will be unsustainable and a burden to the society. So these 3 points are very, very important. And if we successfully address these 3 aspects, that is connecting calf to the cow, connecting cows to the land, and finding a person, sensible owner, who can do these 2 tasks. So we will go in detail on these 3 points. And I mean, serving as cow minister, I got an opportunity to serve on some projects, and we have tried to implement that, and we have seen such an immense benefit by executing, and it was really worthy and great experience to do it. So first of all, we would like to understand why we need to connect calf to mother cow. What is the growth potential of the milk which a mother cow produces for a calf? How much does a calf gain in weight on a daily basis by drinking the mother's milk? So for that we need to understand what is the calf share. As His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj was explaining yesterday, that if the calf is allowed to have access to the mother, and rather it should be allowed to have access to the mother, and it should drink as much as he can drink, and then what is left is for us. So he also advised yesterday that so every devotee or every follower of a Sanatana Dharma should try to locate the source from where the milk is coming and should ensure that this is happening. If this is not happening, then the whole cycle of prosperity will be stopped. The whole cycle of ecology will stop. The whole cycle of spirituality will stop. So it is very, very important to ensure that from wherever source we are taking for procuring milk, must do this process of ensuring that the calf is with the mother cow. So it is that quantity of milk which, when consumed by the calf, it attains the optimum growth. And the optimum weight gain is minimum 1 kg per day. So this is an amazing thing, that just by drinking mother's milk, the calf can grow at least 1 kg a day, and it can grow up to 1.5 to 1.7 kg per day. This is per day. So this is the growth potential for the calf. Nothing can substitute this. No amount of fodder, no amount of feed can substitute this. And this is best achieved by a calf and cow being together for a minimum of 12 hours. So we have tried this in our Goshala, and when we kept these calves with the cow at least for 12 hours, so we were milking in the morning, and after milking in the morning at 5 o'clock, the calf is to stay with the mother till evening 5 o'clock, and we were regularly monitoring their growth in terms of weight, and the minimum growth we could find was at least 1 kg. So this is very much possible, and this is needed because the calf, by doing this, the calf will become 10 times of its body weight in only 7 to 8 months. That it will attain puberty in 7 to 8 months, and the study shows that if you do this, then the calf will be a better producer than the mother, and this is how the breed improvement program can be achieved. Currently, breed improvement program has a different dimension, but this breed improvement program is very much on the basis of scriptures. This is an example. On the right side is mother, on the left is the baby bull. So you can see how big it has grown just on the principle followed where the bull was kept with the mother, and just by drinking milk it has grown so big in around 8 months. So currently these are the practices we see, that we are trying to forcibly trying to get milk and depriving the calf of its share, and as a result the milk has continuously decreased. Also we see, despite, as Maharaj was explaining yesterday, that milk is the wholesome food, milk is very spiritual, milk is having a lot of good food, vitamins and minerals required for our body. Despite of that, innumerable amount of milk is been consumed since time immemorial, but still we see that the Atharva Ved mentions that if milk is derived forcibly from the cows, it is poisonous and it will lead to innumerable incurable diseases. So we see in the society that because most of the dairies, as His Holiness Bhakti Raghav Swami mentioned in his presentation, that most of the people keep cows as a dairy, and in the dairy the cows are not totally neglected, the calf is totally neglected, and it is only aimed to procure more and more milk. They are kept separated, and that milk which is taken forcibly is linked to poison, which will result in innumerable incurable diseases which we are seeing in today's society. So this is the state of trying when the calf are separated. When they were kept together, these are the same calves, and these calves are looking like this just after a few months of staying with the mother. One and on the left, after they got proper access to the mother, they could grow quite healthy. You can see from this picture, and now you'll see the next how the calf has grown. This is just in 3 months from here to here. So this is how the milk helps the calf to grow, remain healthy, and get association of the mother. This is another Goshala. The calves were like this. When they were not having association of the mother, they were not getting access to milk. So they were having hairy coat on their skin. And after getting the access of minimum 12 months, only in 1 month their color changed to this. Again, you can see from this picture, the calves are growing very healthy. This is very important. Generally, we see that mother just feeds milk or provide food to the child, but it is not about just milk or food. It is about lot of culture, lot of training which a child gets from the mother. So being with the mother is more than just access to the milk. So you can see how happily they are, how peacefully they are lying together, mother and the calf. This is really going to make us happy. When we make this happen, this will make their social life very peaceful, and they will be stress free. And if anybody is in stress, if any species is in stress, 4 things will happen to it. Number one, it will be diseased. Number two, the behavior will become irrational. Number three, the lifespan will decrease. And number four, the productivity will go down. So because in our current scenario, the cows and the calves, the cow is disconnected from the land and the calf is disconnected from the mother. So both of them are in super stress, and as a result, we see that the productivity is going down. They are always diseased. We require a lot of doctor support to maintain them. Their behavior are becoming irrational, and the product which is ultimately achieved from them is also unhealthy. So it is very, very important to keep them stress-free. Weaning is also very important to learn. Weaning is a natural process, so it should be allowed to be done by the mothers. So the mother is the best person to judge when the child should be shifted to another food from milk. So generally we take care of that, but the ideal situation is that this should be done by the mother, and this process helps mother to replenish her health, because producing milk is a lot of stress on the body in terms of producing it. This is about the heifers. This heifer on the left, you can see the heifers were having a lot of hairy coat, and now we are starting the next part. Till now we have covered the first point where when the cow and the calf are separated, we saw what happens, and if they are together, we understood what can we achieve. Now we are coming to the grass. So the second point that was highlighted in the shloka of Srimad Bhagavatam is that cow was hankering for green grass in the field. So this is two pictures taken from the same Goshala. Left is when they were not given, but when they were not grazing, rather they were fed in the Goshala. And to your right, you can see they are on the field and they are fed there. And in couple of months, there you can see the change in the health. So to understand why we have to do this, we will understand what is function and what is utility. So function means the purpose of a person or thing or an activity that is natural to. So for example, pen. We use pen to write, but nobody buys a pen to scratch the back. But if you are writing with the pen, and while writing, if you feel like itching and if you use the pen, that's okay. But nobody buys the pen for scratching the back. Similarly, utility, so function of the pen is to write, and utility of the pen can be like scratching the back or something else. Similarly, primary function of cow, when I talk about cow, it means bulls also. So the primary function of the cow is its inborn quality of grazing. But what we have decided is, when we look at cow, we feel that they are the milk giving machine, and when we look at the bulls, we look them as somebody who will carry loads or will pull the plowing machine or something like that. So the primary function for both of them is grazing, as we have understood from Madhav Prabhu's presentation today. And primary utility fixed on the cow is milk and bull for traction. Similarly, the primary function of the udder of the cow is to feed the calf. That is the primary function. So utility should follow the function. If a specific resource is just engaged for utilitarian purpose, then it will result in depleting or degeneration. So every resource should perform its function. It can never be a liability to us. It is always an asset. But when it is mishandled, it becomes a liability. So when a natural resource is not used for its function, it leads to the diminishing of the said resource and hence unsustainable. So in current scenario, we see the cow is separated from the land, the calf is separated from the cow. So the cow is unable to perform its function, the land is unable to perform its function. That is why we are seeing that they are unsustainable. So our current picture is not encouraging us to take care of cows or to engage in an occupation of farming. But if we go in detail, the way Madhav Prabhu has explained wonderfully the four ecosystem, if that is understood and on that basis, if we start following that principles, then all these resources are quite sustainable. They have been sustaining this planet since millions and millions of years. But just because of our mishandling, we are seeing problems everywhere. So as we discussed, when we look cows, we see milk, and when we see bulls, we see drought. That is, they are carrying some weight. Because of this, looking to them for their utility, we have ended into garbage. Now we see they are either in garbage or they go to slaughter. So the model in the current scenario is already explaining us that the path which we are walking on is not correct, because the end is not what we want. So now we have to change the path. We cannot get a different result by walking on the same path. Irrespective of whatever standard of Goshala we make, irrespective of whatever feed we give them in the Goshala. But we have to ensure that they get an opportunity to perform their function. So now This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, where Srila Prabhupada, as our ministry is also named Ministry of Cow Protection and Agriculture. So cow protection and agriculture are not separable. Rather, the very definition of farming means growing of the crops and rearing of animals. So they both means farming. It is not only growing of food. But in the current scenario, we have understood it like that. So here in this purport, I have marked a sentence in blue where Srila Prabhupada writes cow protection. We have to ensure cow protection for getting sufficient milk and the best food to continue a perfect civilization. This is from the purport of this shloka. So it is very clearly understood that in the current scenario, there are two categories of people. One is who is taking care of animals or the cows, and one who is taking care of farming. So farmer and cat or the dairy people are separate. But actually this is one unit. They are one coin, two sides. So when we link both of these two, prosperity will come, sustainability will come. Without this, we are just trying to hit on 50%. 50% is untouched. That is why we are using tractor, we are using chemical fertilizers. That was very wonderfully covered by Madhav Prabhu. So I don't want to touch it again. So we have to understand that scriptures want cows to be used or allowed to be performing their both functions of giving milk and producing food. Cows are not just for milk. Again, this is from Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, Bhakti Swami Maharaj yesterday mentioned that if cows and bulls are kept happy, the human society will be happy. So I am trying to take a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam which explains how we can keep the cows happy. So here Srila Prabhupada is explaining for human happiness, one must care for animals, especially the cows. For the proper pursuit of human happiness, there must be arrangement for protection of cows. Now, what does protection of cows means? Prabhupada writes, this means that there must be forest and adequate pasturing ground full of grass and water. If the animals are happy, there will be an ample supply of milk. So, if we ensure that there are forest and adequate pasturing ground which are full of grass and water, that will make animals happy. And what will happen if the animals become happy? If they are happy, they will supply ample milk, from which human beings will benefit by deriving many milk products with which to live their life happily. So it is very, very important that we have to connect Mother Cow and Mother Earth. Without that, we cannot keep them happy. And if they are not happy, it is not possible to keep this human society happy and prosperous. This is a shloka from Garuda Purana. Just we are reading the red part. So cutting of the grass frequently, which we are seeing right now, we cut the grass from the field and feed it to the cows in the Goshala. So cutting of the grass in the field, this may destroy the affluence of even Lord Vishnu. So this is an alarming situation, an alarming message from the shloka that it is not sustainable even for the Lord. So we have to change the course of our action, and Lord Krishna has personally demonstrated that how to take care of the cows. So he was taking them on the pasturing ground. He was rotating them between the forest. He was taking them to different forests, allowing them to graze full day. This is how he was feeding them. There was no system of cutting grass and feeding them. Again, the jaw of the cow says so. So the cow do not have upper teeth. It's not that all the teeth of this cow are broken. They have only teeth on the lower part. This is because they are good to graze. So this itself, the design of their mouth is made as so that they can graze only the upper part of the grass. But when we provide it, we cut the grass to the root, and even the grass is destroyed, and it is even struggling for the cows to eat it. So their teeth has been designed to work on the grassland and do their function of grazing. And now lastly, by doing these two things, by keeping the cow with the calf and bringing the cows and the bulls on the earth, what will we achieve? So everything that livestock do to the land while living on it is called animal impact. It starts with grazing. It means that grazing is not the only thing we are targeting yet. Grazing is just one part of our function. Grazing means feeding the soil. Grazing does not mean only feeding the cow, because when she grazes, as Madhav Prabhu has already covered today, when the cow grazes, it also fertilizes the soil. The process of photosynthesis, the solar energy flow, one of the ecosystem, is also re-energized. The tip is re-exposed to the solar energy, and the function of photosynthesis is expedited on all the grass which is growing. So while grazing, the cow does not just feed themselves but also work to nourish the soil. They do so naturally by dunging, urinating, and mulching. This, along with their hoof impact, creates the circumstances for building the soil. Again, the hoof impact was explained, so I am skipping it now. Alan Savory is one of the very renowned ecologists who is known to be managing at least 50 to 60 lakh acre of land through the system of holistic management of the land, that is integrating the cows and the land, that is grazing the cows on the land. So this is the program to build the soil. How can we improve our soil without purchasing additional input? So now we recently Canadian government has published statistics where they have said that out of the total production of $1.34 trillion of agricultural produce we have achieved till out of that 98% is just input cost. So the input cost is continuously going up. That means the farming process, what is we are practicing in current scenario with tractors and chemical fertilizers and irrigation system is unsustainable because we are hardly saving anything. So we have to depend on these four ecosystems, and with the help of this ecosystem, we can re-establish the solar flow, we can re-establish the hydrological cycle, we can re-establish the nutrient cycle, and we can re-establish the biodiversity on the soil. So this is very, very important. This is very natural. If we practice this, we will see that Krishna is the doer. In current scenario, what we are doing is everything is managed by us. We cannot see Krishna's hands in anything. When we make a water tank, it is not done by Krishna. When we arrange the irrigation facility, it is not done by Krishna. But when the water is naturally stored in the soil, which is a natural reservoir to hold water, we can see that Krishna is the doer. So we have to try to understand the nature and the way Krishna is managing the whole ecosystem, and that can only bring sustainability to our society. So when the cow graze, we are achieving these 5 things. We'll just read through this. They are nibbling on the grass in a way that exposes their growth point to sunlight and stimulates growth. Second, their trampling of the land also does several things. Number 1, it breaks the capped earth, that is the aeration, so that the soil is aerated. Madhav Prabhu mentioned that 40% of our cultivable land has no aeration now. So if we move the cows on the land, the soil will be able to breathe, and the life in the soil will increase. It passes in seeds and giving them a chance to germinate. So you have a greater diversity of plants. So when the cows are moving, they perform this function also by pressing down the seeds in the soil, and the germination starts. Grazing herds also press down dying and decaying grasses so that they can be better acted upon by microorganisms in the soil. It keeps the decaying process going on. So there are many forests, or not forests, but many grassland and cropland we have seen where no animals are visiting, and they are converted into desert because the decaying grass is not acted upon by the moving herd. So it is very important that after any plant which has achieved its full growth has to be converted into the biomass, and has to be converted into it has to be recycled, and this recycling is done by this grazing herd. So it is very important to move the cows on our land. And lastly, the dung and urine also fertilize the soil. So this all goes on simultaneously when the cow is connected to Mother Earth. So this is a photo which you can understand. So we have to create a high density impact. Generally, people feel that grazing means just leaving the cow on the land. That is not called grazing. It is called gazing. They are just seeing. They don't know what to do. Now we are here, but they don't know what to do. So we need a herder, which we were covering. Now this is the third aspect of the shloka. The herder is the most important man. As Krishna himself was doing it, though he was from a very rich family, he was leaving the royal palace just to graze the cows. So this is the most important occupation for the humanity, and it is the most important responsibility of us being in the city to protect this community of herding people. If the herders are jobless, or if they are not engaged in herding the cows, we will lose all our land which are productive now. It will all convert into desert. So building soil is very, very important, and for that we have to graze these cows in high density for a short time. So high density and short time both are very, very important. They cannot be on the same land for more time, and they cannot be in a smaller number on the bigger land. So it has to be done very smartly. It is a science. There are many, many grazing schools which have started in America. Young women are learning grazing, and you will be surprised to know that these grazing schools are totally enrolled on the first day. There is so much of demand to learn grazing now. These are advantages of high density short time grazing. So cow graze a greater proportion of available plants more evenly. So it's even grazing, so the mother earth is not exposed. Otherwise the photosynthesis will stop. The soil will be bare. The sun will start extracting energy from the soil, and it will convert into desert again. So it is very important to move them on time. Distribution of grazing, dung, and urine more evenly. We cannot do that. What they can do, we cannot do. As Madhav was mentioning, what animals can do, we cannot do. So better let them do their job of shifting the dung and urine. Otherwise, we will be in a big mess, shifting tons and tons of dung and urine from the Goshalas. Constant level of nutrition. They are very smart. As soon as they eat the top part of the grass, they know now it is not more nutritional. They will want to move to the another ground now. But if we force them to stay there, then they have to eat it, and that depletes the grass, that depletes the soil, that depletes their health. So it is very important to keep moving them to fresh ground. Tighter plant communities develop with more leaf and less fiber. Animal performance improves. So these are the advantages of high density short time plant grazing. These are some shlokas which explains the importance of grazing. So if somebody keep cows at home in the morning Brahma Muhurta, then he will suffer in his life. And if we throw away dung and urine, which is in current scenario we see, to some extent people are trying to use dung, but urine is totally wasted in the Goshalas. But in this process of grazing, we are ensuring that 100% of dung and urine are going to Mother Earth, and that is the food for building up the soil. So if we are not doing this, we see the society is disfigured. Disfigured in the sense that the soil cannot hold water, there is water problem, there are droughts, there are floods. The nutritional value of the food has gone down, health problems are increasing. This is how the society is disfigured. It's not that our faces will be changing, but overall health and the status of the society will go down. The bad malpractices will increase, is like terrorism, the mental state of people will be disturbed. So many things like this will come up. So if we are not using cow family, that is cows and bulls on the farm, and we cannot cultivate good crops, and there will be continuous attack of pest and diseases thrown. This is done by Rudra. Rudra here is controller of harmful disease caused by microbial agents. So it is very, very important. And I would like to clear one more point here. So our concept is not dung-based farming. Our concept is cow-based farming. We are keeping mother cow in the center. We are not just collecting dung. We are not seeing her for her utility. We are trying to keep her happy, because Bhagavatam says that we have to keep them happy. And to keep them happy means to graze them. We have to provide them pasturing field full of grass and water. Only by doing this we can ensure that they are happy. Not by how can collecting dung and urine from them, or how can taking milk from them make them happy. To make them happy, we have to do something which they want to do. And their function, the job given to them by Krishna is to graze. So they are responsible to graze for Krishna. If they are not doing their function, they will be unsustainable and the whole society will collapse. So this is the last thing. If we are not grazing the animals, the soil is not going to be healthy. If the soil is not healthy, the plants won't be healthy. So in this context, we are seeing that once we connect calf to the cow and cow to the land, the soil will become healthy. Once the soil becomes healthy, the plants growing on it, plants for the grass and fruits and vegetables and everything, whatever we need for human society and all the species that are created by Krishna. It's not only human society has to eat, but all the species. So if the plants are healthy, all the life surviving on the plants will grow healthy. So the animals are healthy. And if the animals are healthy, finally the man will be healthy, because we are the reason of trouble. So we will be the last beneficiary in the chain. So it is our responsibility Bhagavatam states that we are the elder brother. Our responsibility is the elder brother of all the species. So as the elder brother, it is our responsibility to ensure that all the species can perform their function, all the species get their quota of food. So then they all will ensure that they will perform their function, and the four ecological system will ensure that the whole society is prosperous, happy, peaceful, and so we will achieve our spiritual aspect, social aspect, economical aspect, and environmental aspect. Otherwise, we cannot make any of our projects sustainable. So, cow protection and farming are two sides of the same coin, and this is the process, or this is the way given by Srila Prabhupada in Srimad Bhagavatam. There are many, many more shlokas. In case we need more information on this, you can get connected to us through WhatsApp, through emails. There are many more people who are working on this project. We have wonderful devotee who are ready to help for this project. So anybody who is interested in taking more knowledge can certainly get in touch with us. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So thank you so much, Sanatana Prabhu, for the opportunity.
You can hear me? It seems my
Yes,
internet
Prabhu.
my internet is a little slow. I don't know what has happened. Even I'm sitting in a.
No, you are very clear. You please
You see
continue.
my
Your sound
picture
is very
also?
clear.
All right, here we are. Okay, thank you,
Yes,
Vishwanath,
yes.
for your wonderful presentation on grazing the cows. Now there is two more little presentations. I want to call on Kalakanta Prabhu, who is the international minister from our ISKCON side for agriculture and farming and cow protection. So I will take on him. And afterwards, I will try one more time as a video of Sujal. I think the trick is that I have not to remove myself when the video is playing. So thank you, Vishnu Nam. And I will come. Kalakanta Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Kalakanta Prabhu. Welcome. You're muted. I'll unmute you.
Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Hare Krishna. So thank you for having arranged this wonderful conference. I'm handing it over to you now. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm in the rural area, so I apologize if the internet connection is not as satisfactory as it could be. But we are making the transition. That is an important point Madhav Prabhu made, to be in the village, which is a very important place. I really like to, just a moment, we have a motorcycle crossing. I really like to congratulate the Indian team for this beautiful work. I mean, in these 4 days, we had a very wide scope of experts speaking from natural farming, like Subhash Palekar Prabhu. We had His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami speaking about how important it is to take care of the baby calf and then connecting to the cow. And Vishnunam today was connecting the cow to the soil. And closing that cycle, on the first day, we had Tiago Barbosa, who was all the way from Australia, connecting our crops to the forest. So it's connecting the calf to the cow to the soil, and the cow and the calf to the forest. Then we have an agroforestry system, which can really, really help us in so many ways. So from the Ministry of Cow Protection and Agriculture, we'd really like to thank everyone for that. And I'd like to end with a very small presentation showing a few points and reminding us a few points. And then I would like to especially thank Sanaka Sanatana Prabhu, who has been a very steady support for this conference. He was basically the MC, and I think the Indian team is in a very good position to repeat this over and over with so many different speakers. Special thanks also for Madhava Prabhu, His Holiness Bhakti Raghava Swami, Revati Raman Prabhu, all the participants, and especially the representatives, Sujal, which is still going to speak, Sanatana, Vishnunam, and Damodar Dulao Prabhu. Okay, so let me just put this small presentation here for us. And well, basically, we need to see that Lord Balaram is giving us all his blessings. And Lord Balaram is really taking care of everything. If you look at a picture of Krishna, everything on that picture except Krishna is Lord Balaram. The leaf, the scenario, everything. So when we talk about cow protection agriculture, Lord Balaram is really serving that purpose of giving all the facilities for it to happen. So Krishna Balaram, and we thank Vrindavan, who has been worshipping Krishna Balaram, for bringing this topic up, because they are the two who actually are making the whole system work. So we'd like to pray to Lord Balaram that he may bless us and we can continue. And as you see, we were talking about the cow grazing the land and the calf connected to the cow. Now just see this picture. I showed it before and look at it again. A corridor of grazing land sided by fruits, wood, all the vegetables and species that humans need. For me, this is the way ahead. It's a syntropic agroforestry system where you have plants which are useful for humans, corridors useful for cows with herbs and so many different elements for them to be healthy. So I think we're getting close. I think every speaker spoke something of this system. And remember, Tiago Barbosa was saying a system is many elements made of different natures and materials working for one goal. And in this picture, you can see everybody's working for the goal of abundance. So the big message is, when we have the right dharma, the right ecology, we create abundance. And that's what we've been discussing these few days. And we did mention Mayapur, which Sujal is going to talk about just after me. And we talked about Amviksgard as a very successful community, Gitanagari doing a wonderful service with outreach, Nivrajadam Hungary, and of course GEV and Talasari, which is two very neighboring projects in India, are doing a wonderful job. This just to name a few, but India has the most projects in our ISKCON society related to cows and farming. So today, transition from Goshala to farm is especially relevant for India because it brings the idea that we cannot separate the cows from the calves, from the soil, from the forest, and agriculture is right in the middle of that. So I'd like to end by saying this is a Continental Farm Conference cycle event, and it's online because of the pandemic. I think the team made a wonderful job. I hope you all really appreciate it. And on my side, I'm really satisfied with everything that was presented, and I hope that we can make more of this to come. So I'll end here and just say Hare Krishna to everyone, and I pray that we have many more like this presential meetings. So thank you, Sanatana Prabhu, and I think now you can play the video of Sujal, and he's also perhaps with us to answer any questions. All right? Is that okay? I'll say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
All right, thank you, Kalakanta Prabhu. Fantastic. There was some little teasing problem, but it is normal. It was our first online conference. Altogether, I'm also very satisfied. And please, all the viewers, forgive us. It's a little overtime. Sujal had a little bit of an internet problem. So
Okay, I think he's trying to set the video. It's a beautiful video Sujal made because his internet connection was not really stable, and it's worthwhile. Yes, did you manage, Sanatana, to get his video on?
Yeah, I will try now.
Okay, I'll leave you now. Thank you very
Okay.
much, everyone. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Kalakanda Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Krishnaya Vasudevaya, Devaki Nandanaya Cha, Nanda Gopa Kumaraya, Srila Prabhupada envisioned for Mayapur self-sufficient community based on the principles of simple living, high thinking, a farm community essentially. Not just for Mayapur, for all other ISKCON temples all over the world. Somehow it's a challenge, and like any challenge, we have to find the solution for it. In Mayapur, we try different things. Today, I'm going to try to speak about some of those things. One of the biggest challenges that stopping us from realizing Srila Prabhupada's vision. Well, there is many challenges. Many farms, they don't have land. Also, many times land, usually in the past when Varnashram system was followed, the land was distributed by the king. It was for free. So by maintaining cows and doing some basic agriculture, it was possible for somebody to make a living, take care of the cows, and offer something to Krishna. Today, the bullocks have been completely replaced by tractors. And this is a financial burden. The land you have to buy, pesticides, chemicals, everything has to be bought in seeds. So to think that somebody can be profitable after putting in so much capital is not possible. Many times the cost of agriculture is so high, the farmer is forced to take an extreme step and end his own life because he cannot pay back his debt. Whereas the bullock and the cows and bulls, they're the foundation of our agriculture. Everything you need for sustaining the soil, replenishing it, making it fertile, is provided by the cow. And the bull also helps in tilling the soil. The bull provides everything from tilling to cow dung to gobar. It helps you produce grains. So our biggest challenge today and biggest problem is that we are unable to employ bullocks into our agriculture. And because we've divorced cow protection from agriculture, this is the main cause for more of our problems. Today, all over the world, there are scientists that are debating as to what is the proper way of developing it, how to develop without being a burden to nature. As we are going now, we are burning out habitats, destroying species, and we're pretty much digging our own grave. So today scientists are forced to rethink what is the right model for us to develop. But for us, Srila Prabhupada has given us a model, and the title of the seminar is Krishi Go-raksha Vanijyam. This is Lord Krishna's formula for a self-sustainable, civilized, God-conscious society. When in Sanskrit, when something is put into a straight line like Krishi Go-raksha Vanijyam, it's to be understood that the word that's in the middle, in this case Go-raksha, is the supporting principle for ones on the side. So when you say Krishi Go-raksha Vanijyam, it means Go-raksha is the main principle there. And agriculture based on Go-raksha and a trade, a business based on Go-raksha also. This is very important. Also, ideally, our farm communities should actually first start from agriculture and then with the idea that we are building a cow protection project. And then go on to value addition and trade. But so often happens that we start from cow protection because many reasons somebody is willing to give a cow, or there is just a desire, enthusiasm by the devotees, let's get a cow, or there's a requirement for milk. Many other reasons. We tend to start the cow project first and then think about how do we feed the cows, how will they be supported. The cows and the earth, they have a very special relationship. For the earth to produce grains and even grass to feed the cows, it also needs nourishment. That nourishment comes from cow dung. And in a Goshala, you're actually one of your great strengths, one of your greatest strengths that you will have a lot of cow dung. You will have one of the sources. So if you're starting from a Goshala and going into a farm project, or you're starting from a farm project and going into a Goshala, they're one and the same thing. You have to understand that the cow and its progeny, they're the foundation of any sort of agriculture. So either way you go, you're going to be okay. But ideally, it should start from a farm project when you have enough agricultural products and you have enough residue from your agriculture, grass. You can introduce cows into the system. That's the better way of doing it. You see, the thing is, many people sometimes they give an argument that we are competing with the cows. So we don't have enough to eat. How can we feed the cows? But that's the wrong way of thinking. Because we are eating anyways. We have to eat our rice and dal, vegetables. And the cows actually, they're not competing with us. We're interdependent because they eat only those things that we cannot take. They will take the grains, like they will take some parts of the grains, like the grain cover and other things. But the polished grain is what we offer to Radha Madhav, and we take it. But they will definitely take the straw. And after their digestion process, the cow dung that we get is highly enriched with nitrogen and many kinds of microbial life that's very favorable for the earth. So the earth benefits, humans we also benefit, and the cow gets also its feed. Of course, there's many challenges in any kind of agriculture. Sometimes it's inconsistent what you're getting. Some years are good, some years are not good. Especially when you don't have so much experience with agriculture, things can fail. Um, Crop failure happens, and there are problems with animals, goats breaking into your farm. Even your cows, sometimes they will go over the fence. Like they say, the grass is always greener on the other side. And in the case of cows, if you have cows on one side of the fence, generally they will finish off the grass real soon, and then they'll try to get into your farming area. So in Mayapur, this is actually a very big problem for us, and we try to overcome this problem. One of the things that we've done here is we started planting saplings of it's called a living fence. There are trees. There are multi-purpose trees essentially. We also realized that one of our biggest costs was coming from maintaining the fence. Now, whether you go for a living fence or a regular fence, any fence is pretty much high maintenance. But the thing, when you're using a living fence, you get a lot of byproducts from it. So if you have trees and if you incorporate trees, multi-purpose trees, fodder trees, even medicinal trees into your fence, over time you will stop spending so much on the fence. In Mayapur, the climate is such that we can have many different varieties of plants. But even other places, there's a drumstick is very popular as a fencing tree, used as a fence. It's first of all, it gives food for human beings. It's like almost a source of what do you call it? Food security. And you can just cut off the stumps and replant them, and they'll grow again. So if you need to replace some posts and stumps, you get it from that tree. Also, it's at a time of scarcity. Suppose in Mayapur we also have a flooding problem. So sometimes the grass just all drowns, whatever grass we're growing for the cows. So you can feed them moringa leaves. It's highly nutritious. It contains very high amounts of calcium and other nutrients. In some countries, it's considered as a superfood also. It does not have to be moringa. It can be whatever trees that are available in your area. Any tree will give you some products. If nothing, it will give shade for the cows to sit under. There will be some species like from the acacia, I think, yeah, they will fix nitrogen into the soil, and that will benefit your agriculture immensely. There are medicinal plants that are useful for agriculture as well as for cow protection, like neem, kari pata, kari leaves, parijata. These are also plants that, see, when you're choosing plants for your fence, you choose plants that are they should grow without much care, because many times the plants will be very far from your main operation. So to bring water there, some seasons where it's very dry, you need to water some plants. So you may not have the resources. So you need to plant those kind of plants that require less care. They're fast growing, and you get some benefit from it, either in the form of medicine, food, fodder for the cows, fixing of nitrogen, shade. Sometimes you can plant even acacia and stuff. You get tools, for building tools. You can get nice, good quality hardwood. You can plant some trees that are useful for building puller carts, implements for agriculture. If nothing be used for as firewood for your Panchagavya production, for your if you're making ghee or if you're making medicine based on cow products. So this is one of the things that we like to use in Mayapur. It came as a response. We saw it as an opportunity for a problem we were facing. Cows were breaking our fence. So this is the opportunity. So like this, there are many other opportunities that you will see. They will come up when you start your farm project. And if you are able to employ the bulls and find work for the bullocks, the thing is you will be able to offer Lord Krishna, Sri Radha really good quality milk, grains, also vegetables. You must have already heard from Guruji Subhash Palikarji yesterday, the day before, about the uses of Jivamrit and Bijamrit in organic agricultural method. He's actually reintroduced and fine-tuned this method himself. Likewise, there's another, for growing vegetable, there's another mathematics that is used. It's another concept and can be practically implemented also. See, every sort of plant, it needs a certain number of days to mature. Spinach, coriander, eggplant, okra, bhindi, and there are plants that take much longer to produce a fruit. But some things they start giving you, like spinach, you can have it ready within 15 days. Bhindi will take longer. Maybe give its first fruit, it'll take up to 40-45 days. But you can plan these things, pace yourself. So suppose you want a handful of every day. You plan the required number of trees. You probably plant like say 10 trees or 10 to 15 trees, and within 45 days its first fruit, and then it will give you a fruit every 2-3 days. So depending on how much you need, you can grow so that you're not growing too much. Also, because that's a waste of resources. Similarly, for spinach, you start growing a batch, and within 15 days you can already start using it and offering it. And you grow enough so that that batch will last for at least a month, and it will give you time to, while you're finishing this batch, your second batch will start growing from there. There is a mathematics to almost every vegetable and leaf vegetable, even large trees. yeah, so this thing it's very important to keep in mind that from a Goshala point of view, when you're getting into agriculture, you're already at your strength is cow down. That's your biggest strength. And another good thing to do would be to set up a gobar gas plant, because the slurry that generates from this digestion chamber of the gobar gas plant, it's one of the best things that you can use on your crops. If you're planting certain perennial grasses for your cows, it will be, you can use it directly. It does not need time to mature. Like if you have cow dung and you don't have a farm and you just have a Goshala, it's actually a mess. It makes a big mess in the Goshala. Even though land is expensive to buy, you should try to get that, just so that you can add value to the cow dung that you have. In some cases, I know some devotees that even rent the land just so they can put their cow dung there and grow their grass for their cows or grow some vegetables for their cows. So these are some responses to some challenges. So we're talking about the slurry for the grass. If you can build some sort of a transporting system or a pipeline that gets your slurry to the field, there's nothing like it. You save a lot of time on, you don't have to weed, because when you bring in fresh cow dung, sometimes there will be grains and seeds and stuff in there. But once it goes through the digesting chamber, there's hardly anything left inside. And it will reduce labor quite a bit, and the crops will be very nice. So there will be many challenges in the material world. Um, so Mritti Jara Vyadi is a thing that's there. It's there for humans, plant life, for the animals. So there will be challenges that come. You have to face them, adapt to those challenges, and it's not consistent all the time. There will be some problems coming up every once in a while, but um, if you're able to employ the bulls, you will be definitely. If you're able to find people also that are willing to work with the bulls, that is sufficient. You can offer Radha Madhav or pure vegetables, pure milk, free from any pesticide residue. Um, you will become healthy, because this is hard work, and also the what you're offering to Krishna will be good quality, organic, so to say, and whatever you get as prasadam will also be very healthy. Save money and have be wealthy and wise. If you're drinking cow's milk, Srila Prabhupada said that to fine tune the brain and the finer tissues develop. So healthy, wealthy, and wise, you will get time. You will get plenty of time also for sadhana. You will get time to practice Mridanga, do kirtan, follow the 6 loving exchanges with other devotees. By the mercy of Guru and Gauranga, if you're able to do this, then definitely Sri Prabhupada, Radha Madhav, and all the Vaishnavas will be happy. It will be a great service to Gomata. It will be a great service to humanity. And by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga, one day you will go back to Krishna, the planet of the cows. Thank you very much. Gomata ki jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki jai. Jai Gomata.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for all the devotees who stayed on. We a little bit almost gone half an hour overtime, and I'm sorry I had a little trouble getting that video properly running. So thank you, and I hope we all see you for the second Krishi Go-raksha Vanijyam All India Agriculture, Farming and Cow Conference. We will let you know when the next time is coming. Hare Krishna, everyone. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, ISKCON ki jai. Hare Krishna.